Morning. And thanks, Harry, for that presentation. Always good to hear what the WebTools team are up to. And thank you, Stella, for the invitation to speak this morning. I haven't spoken at a Tech Week event before, but I'm delighted there are so many people here. So thank you all for coming out. My name is Christopher Dawson. I'm the CEO and founder of Spritely. And I'm going to talk today really about the work we've been doing with MBIE and Callaghan Innovation to develop COVID monitoring for the retirement village industry. But before I go too much into that, I'll just start with a bit of an overview of Spritely. We're age-friendly technology for retirement villages. Now, retirement villages do spend a lot of money on technology. They have technology for their nurses. They have technology for their property and maintenance teams. They have technology for marketing and sales. They have technology at reception. They have technology for almost everyone, it seems, except their residents. So Spritely are changing that. We're building age-friendly technology which puts residents at the center of that technology. And there's a good reason for that, because we can help them to stay independent for longer. And we put the technology in all the independent living units of retirement villages. So that's all the villas and the houses that are out in the village. And when we do that, we strive to make them healthier, safer, and more connected. And we do that in a number of ways, but I'm really just, for this short presentation this morning, I'm going to focus on one of the ways we do that, which is most relevant to the COVID screening and probably most familiar to this audience, and that is remote patient monitoring. So I'll come back to remote patient monitoring in a second, but it's worth talking about why retirement villages need to remain extra vigilant in the era of COVID-19. New Zealand as a whole has done an extremely good job of virtually eliminating COVID, which has afforded us the opportunity to focus our attention on more vulnerable communities, such as people at the border, people in quarantine, aircrew, frontline healthcare workers, or even residents in retirement villages. Residents in retirement villages are more vulnerable than their counterparts out in the community because residents in retirement villages congregate in larger numbers and do so more frequently. One of the main reasons that people move into a retirement village is for the vast array of activities that they have. Just last week at one retirement village in Christchurch, 5,000 activities were booked through the Spritely tablet for one retirement village. 5,000 activities just last week. So they're very popular. And these activities happen everywhere. They happen in the clubhouse, they happen in the swimming pool, they happen on the croquet lawn, they happen in the library, they happen in the restaurant, they happen in the bar, all great places for the transmission of COVID-19, I might add. So we need to be extra vigilant. If COVID-19 was to get into a retirement village and remain undetected for even a few days, the consequences of that could be very serious. Being extra vigilant is what retirement villages want to be. It's what the hospitals want them to be. It's what the government wants them to be. It's what families and next of kin want them to be. But being extra vigilant often means having extra staff, extra people. And if there's one thing that retirement villages do not have, it is extra people. Quite the opposite, in fact. In an outbreak, one of the main problems is a shortage of staff. So we need to develop technology and processes to be able to help and support retirement villages, add an extra layer of protection or scrutiny or security without actually impacting on their already busy staff. We can't overburden the staff when we do this. And that's what we're talking to MB and Callaghan Innovation about, is putting together this sort of program. And what we're really talking about here is a type of medical surveillance or remote patient monitoring to detect and isolate contacts as early as possible. But the problem with remote patient monitoring is that most remote patient monitoring systems are entirely inappropriate for many older New Zealanders. And there's a whole lot of reasons for that. Maybe they don't have a laptop, maybe they haven't been online, or maybe they feel uncomfortable about receiving a text message with a link that sends them to a website which asks them to register something, to download something to their phone. I don't blame them at all. That would make me a little bit nervous as well. Bear in mind that 50% of New Zealanders over the age of 85 have never ever been online. 25% of New Zealanders aged between 75 and 84 have never ever been online. So what we need is an age-friendly solution. And when I think about an age-friendly solution, you'll have to bear with me here, I think about a piano, right? When you get a piano delivered, I don't know if you've had a piano delivered, but you don't have to set a piano up, right? You just open the lid and then you sit down, and whether you're 5 or whether you're 95, you make it work. Might not sound any good, depends who's playing it. But you don't need to know how it works. You don't need to go through a complicated interim process to make it work. It just works. And that is the gold standard for age-friendly technology, which Spritely is developing its product to. When somebody receives Spritely, they don't need to own a laptop. They don't need to have Wi-Fi. They don't need to have a smartphone. They don't have to go online and download an app. They don't have to buy a medical device or know what Bluetooth is or pair a Bluetooth device. They don't have to update their flash player or call their grandchildren to ask them to set it up. It just works. They open the lid and it goes. And that's a big difference. And that's why when you have a product like that, which we've installed into all of the houses and all of the apartments, you have coverage. And when you have a system which is as easy as I've described, you tend to get compliance. And when you have coverage and you have compliance, you have an opportunity to be able to screen for data points which might alert you to the early ingress of COVID-19 case earlier than what it may be if you weren't screening for it. So I'll talk to you now just quickly through what the protocol is. And that diagram might not completely explain it, but I just want to read this out because I want to get it absolutely right in terms of what we're doing here. So let me say that participants agree to take their temperature daily and update the symptom tracker if necessary. They also agree to record their close contacts each day via Spritely. If a high temp or a symptom of interest is recorded, then the tablet presents a survey, and this is the triage piece, where we then ask them 2 checkbox questions, one related to symptoms, and that's based on the Ministry of Health's high index of suspicion. You'll be familiar with the coughs and the runny nose and the loss of smell. And the other question is around their contact history. Have they been in close contact with a known case of COVID-19? Or have they been to a hotel? Have they traveled? Have they been overseas? Have they been to a large gathering? We're all familiar with those sort of questions. Now, based on the answers to that, the system then generates containment advice, which assesses them to be either very low risk to very high risk. And the containment advice there, you can see, ranges from simply observing social distance when out and starting to take your temperature and symptoms twice a day, right through to stay where you are. We're sending someone in PPE to give you a COVID-19 swab. Now, what that does is it takes the retirement village from knowing nothing at all about each resident's risk to knowing a risk assessment for every resident every day. And we're not saying it will catch everything, so no solution is foolproof, but we're adding a layer of medical surveillance without actually impacting on any of the staff. That way, if something does come up, the staff can focus their attention on that. And I think we can improve containment by making it easier and faster to isolate people. And really the purpose of the test we're running with MB and Callaghan is to see just how much faster and just how much easier. So we're going to report back to the government at the end of this year with some primary metrics around compliance, detection and containment. These are the key elements of any screening program. How many people actually volunteered? Of those, how many were taking the temperature? How many did it every day, every 3 days? Of those people, did we detect anything? Of the ones we detected, what was the containment advice that was given? There's a whole lot of hard stats there around compliance and usage, which the government can use to determine whether it's worth rolling out further. And I think there's also room to have a lot more soft metrics in there. Did it make it easy? Or was it onerous? How would you make it easier? Is it too much to ask people to do this? And just finally, this has got the attention of several different groups. It's not just the government and retirement villages. DHBs and PHOs are interested in making remote patient monitoring more age-friendly. So when people are at home, older people can take advantage of the advantages that remote patient monitoring provides more easily. Insurers are interested, particularly in people with chronic illness and helping to reduce readmission to hospital. And the universities, we're talking to several academic institutions about research to measure the impact of various interventions that they make in order to slow down the process of becoming frail. Thanks.